Good morning, everyone. Jim Laird joining you live from Diriomo, Nicaragua. Let me get Instagram going here for you. And there we go. We're live on Instagram. So here we go. Beautiful day here today. I'm actually, usually this time of year, I dread because this is the last night was the daylight savings fiasco, and they don't play that game here. So basically, what happens here is it just doesn't change. So the time stays the same. Everyone else changes. So now instead of Eastern being 2 hours ahead, it's only 1 hour ahead. So I remember waking up in the US on the days where the time would change and I would just be off for like a couple days. So there's none of that here. Everything stays the same. So I'm happy about that. Absolutely beautiful weekend here. Wonderful, wonderful weather here right now. We're transitioning from the rainy season to the summer, and it's very interesting. It's still raining a tiny bit at night, but not like it was. We've got kind of a cool breeze here. It's wonderful. So we're doing good. So that being said, we're going to jump right into our topic today: explosive power, unlock and maintain it as you age. This is a really this is a serious topic because explosive power is one of the first things you lose, particularly with people playing less sports, being less active, doing less manual labor. uh oh, buenos dias, cómo estás? Muy bien, gracias. uh Housekeeper just arrived. So explosive power is something that you have, and usually you develop through play, through playing sports, through training. But now that people don't aren't as active as they used to be, they fall off a cliff much sooner. And it influences things like being able to get out of a chair, that you have to be able to generate explosive power to do that. If you're walking and you trip and you stumble, you have to be able to generate explosive power to get out in front of yourself, to catch yourself, or to get your arms out in front of yourself to brace your fall, right? So it's very, very important. And it goes before strength and muscle mass, but you can increase explosive power by increasing strength and muscle mass, but you also have to train explosive power in order to maintain it. And basic calisthenics, just, even like, and what happens is people go from not doing anything to doing way too much. Like, they haven't skipped rope in 30 years, and then they'll skip rope for 5 minutes and they won't be able to walk for a week. We start with like eight rope turns. So 8 rope skips. And then the next time you do 8 again, it's like a part of a warm up, or just 10 jumping jacks, some basic calisthenics, some really basic, you know, skater type movements where you're just nice and easy shifting back and forth. If you can't do that, we do the lead tap drill, which is like a stability ball, and you're shifting hip to hip, practicing unloading and loading your hips. Really simple stuff. And then there's all sorts of things we can do with medicine balls. Um, like I'll show you here. Let's share the screen. Uh, and I mean, obviously, if you don't have a wall, you can just do this in your backyard. And one of the things that the mistake that people make is um they get too way too heavy to medicine ball, and then it becomes like it's not an explosive act. So this is just, you stand square.
Knee bend here. You're gonna start in a low position.
You're going to step with one foot and you're going to punch that med ball, right? And a lot of people will just like that, and you can catch it, or you can like just throw it in your yard and go walk after it and pick it up and throw it. But you see how you're alternating steps? Like, that's a really good way. And we can throw the med ball into the ground. I mean, there's all sorts of great things we can do. Let's look around here for some other med ball throwing things, but into the ground. Even just short sprints, like cone drills. You can set up a bunch of cones and walk. um I really like, I would have people sit on a bench and just a high bench and just hop, just jump up, land softly, sit back down, do that as part of a warm up. So there's chest pass, there's medicine ball chest passes into the wall, where you basically just sit. Let me get rid of this screen here. So you just sit in front of the wall. Like you can sit on your knees, you can sit on your butt, and you just rapidly throw the ball into the wall. There's rotational throws. There's all sorts of things. There's like, you sit in I really like people sitting, on a box, and then they stand up and they just hop, and then they land again. They stand up, they hop, and they land again. And having that box behind them forces them to kind of sit back and absorb the force of the landing. Even pogo jumps, where you're just hopping, 5 or 10 times as part of a warm up, skipping. Things like that are really good to incorporate as part of a warm up where you're working on these things every single time you go to the gym. And then squatting off a box is really good for helping develop just overall strength and balance. The agility ladder, so incorporating that, I really like to do that as part of a warm up. You set up the ladder, and then there's different foot drills that you have to do as part of that. It's not so good at developing athleticism, but it's really good at like just getting people to move around and switch their weight. Sports like pickleball, tennis, racket sports are really good for developing, the ability to shift back and forth, change direction. So these are all things we can incorporate into your training, and we want to do it in a small dose. You really don't need to do that much, particularly if you're doing a good, well-designed strength program. You really don't need to do that much to really maintain or even develop even more explosive power. And then, of course, as you get more advanced, then we can choose different modalities and different, Aerodyne bike is an incredible, that's the bike, the fan bike, right? Where you get on there and you basically pedal as hard as you can and crank as hard as you can for 10 seconds. A lot of people will do the Aerodyne bike for way too long. So like 10 seconds on, 45-second rest, pushing the sled, putting a decent amount of weight on there, pushing that sled. That's a really good way to kind of develop explosive power and mimic things like sprinting. I would attach a band, like multiple bands to somebody, and I would just have them like walk fast, and the band would resist them, and then they would have to pedal back under control, and then they'd have to drop. And that's a way we kind of would do sprints as part of a warm up when we didn't have a lot of space in the gym. We'd use like 2 bands around the waist, and then the band would stop them, and then they'd have to come back and resist and plant and drop forward and sprint. So you could start, I would do that with older people. I would have them walk to the band, resisted them, and then the band would pull them back, and they'd have to pedal. They'd have to drop their center of gravity, and they go forward again. And they just, as they got more comfortable, they go a little bit faster. And that's kind of a really good way to kind of get them to shift their center of gravity, work on putting force into the ground. But we want to start, especially with older folks, we want to start with a very low level of force, because if you haven't done anything in a while and you haven't demonstrated a lot of explosive power and force, you're going to get shin splints. You're going to get people with, they tweak an ankle, they tweak a calf. So you really got to be really conservative with this stuff when you start, particularly people that were really high level athletes in college, and then all of a sudden they took 10 or 15 years off and they're in horrible shape. Their brain is going to think it can do a lot more than it can. So that's something that you want to be cognitive of. So there's just a kind of a few ideas. I love medicine balls. Medicine balls are a great way to add some of this stuff into your program. They don't beat you up. They don't, there's no eccentric loading. Sleds, skipping, basic calisthenics, like all the track warm-up stuff is great because it's low impact. It gets your body used to dealing with, applying more force into the ground. So that's the key. Is a lot of this is if you incorporate a lot of this explosive power stuff, med ball throws, skipping, a lot of this stuff into your warm up, it'll become automatic in this low level activity. Then you'll be able to incorporate a higher level of stimulus into your actual training, and it doesn't take that much to make improvements with this stuff, as long as it's done consistently. So I hope that helps you out. I'm going to be doing a webinar on Thursday. I haven't decided what topic I'm going to cover yet. If you have any ideas of that, please put it in the comments. So I'm going to dive deep into something, but I haven't decided quite yet what I'm going to do with that. If you're part of the Vitality Brotherhood, you'll have access to that. That's a group I've created for men over 40. You're also, if you're in Stillman Wellness, you'll also be a part of that. The recordings will be available for that. You can get on the email list at Stillman Wellness and get access to the Thursday webinar that I'm going to do. So I look forward to seeing you there. Yeah, it's going to be a good week. Of course, I've got some really good podcasts with Rob Wolf that I just did. Great podcast with Chris Freeman. A lot of my marketing, if you've been following me for a while, is going to be geared towards over 40 men. That doesn't mean I still don't work with women. I have a ton of clients that are female. Actually, I built essentially my gym in Lexington around training women. I've had a ton of men that I worked with as well at the same time, but I just had a whole crew of women who I basically tricked into lifting weights, who got really good results. So I have a really great history of working with women. I love working and training women. I'm putting a lot more of my marketing is going towards 40-plus-year-old men right now. I'm trying to create a nice group here on the internet for support. So that's basically how things are going right now. So that doesn't mean I don't work with the ladies still. It just means that a lot of my marketing is being focused on men over 40, because I'm trying to create a men over 40 group at the moment. So just to clarify that. So I hope you have yourself a really good day. I hope to see you on the webinar on Thursday. And that, of course, is not streamed, so I can be a little more, I have to be careful what I say here on YouTube with some things, as I'm sure you're well aware. But basically, the bottom line is start slow. For you, if you're older, sitting in a chair and standing up 10 times might be what you need to do for explosive power, right? If you're 40, 50 years old, maybe some jumping jacks, maybe some skipping. Skippings are really nice, easy skips, really good way, throwing medicine balls. So it all depends on where you're at, your level of fitness, and then making sure that you're doing some things. If all you can do is line a bunch of cones up and walk over as fast as you can, and kind of reach down and touch the cone and walk to the next cone as fast as you can, and touch the cones and just do some different multi-directional drills. If that's all you can do at first, that's totally fine. We just want to make sure we progress from there. But that's basically the name of the game. You could be doing 8 rope turns as part of your warm up, and then the next week it's 20 rope turns, and then it's like hopping on one foot for 5 or 6, hopping on the other foot, skaters, med ball throws. All these things are very powerful, and it doesn't take a lot of repetitions to see an improvement. So I hope you're having yourself a great day. I hope you take the time to get outside. If you're over 40, go to the vitalitybrotherhood.com, check out the community, join the community. It's free for now. And we'll see you hopefully at the webinar on Thursday. And then we'll see you here on the channel this week. I'll probably have some more lives that I'll be doing. So take care. Have a wonderful day.